Hey, good evening, everybody. How are you? This is Freddie Ewan, two-time GM of the year, current Pantheon Cup champion, 2023 regular season champion, host of the TPFFKAL show. We got a action-packed night tonight. We got the final four, the last four teams. The cream rises to the top. Check this out. Check this out. Beautiful. I just got it out. I am almost 88% sure that we are going to have the final four GMs on the show, at least for a little bit. I'm not too sure about James yet. James might hop on. Not too sure. I know Brian, and we got somebody coming right now. Jimmy. I can't hear you.
There you go.
Hey, Jimmy. How are you?
Good. How are you, brother?
Good. Wonderful. I think we got another one coming on.
Uh-oh.
I just saw it. The GM of the Seadogs. Is the GM of the Seadogs here?
Is he being shy?
I don't know. Usually he's not. Oh, he's on mute for some reason.
Why is he on video?
I don't know. Maybe he's, Brian's a technical guy, so maybe he's got like, oh no, he's a technical guy. He set this back. He made this background for me because I was supposed to be on vacation in Belize when he beat me during weeks 10 and 11.
Wait, right?
If you recall. So let's wait for everyone to get on, but we'll start with you. Let's get right down to the show. Had the inside track week 12 or week 14, you end up losing to semi-automatic.
I think we call it choking in our business.
Choking to semi-automatic, the 1 seed versus the 12 seed. Jalen Hurts, awful. Semi-automatic ends up winning the game. You go from the 1 seed to the 3 seed. But let's take it back this week. You end up blowing out a very tough IFT team. So let me ask you, you've been in the playoffs before. You've been, is this a little bit less pressure now that you are not the 1 seed?
No, not at all. I think it's just as much pressure as everyone talks so much shit. You don't win. I gotta win. I want motherfucker.
So, what was the, the feeling must have been, I know for me, the odds of me getting winning the regular season championship are slim to nil starting that week out. And, ending up getting the 1 seed, I was shocked. But also, now I feel like there's a lot more pressure on.
On the 1 seed? Yeah, look, all 4 of these teams are fucking tough, right? I think this has probably been the toughest top 4 teams we've had at this stage ever in this league's history. It's a pretty stacked situation.
Absolutely.
Even if Zach had beaten me, I think it'd still be the same case. Like he legitimately could have easily been here, if not for my team, having a great day. But on paper, his team should have, I think, was favored to beat me.
On paper, he was favored to beat you 121 to 110, an 11-point favorite. Oh,
B-Mac.
Now we're getting serious. We got the GM of the Virginia Seadogs on here.
In the house, baby.
In the house.
So I was just talking to Jimmy, Brian. Let me just ask you this. let me just ask you this, and we were just talking about Jimmy's last week where he went from the 1 to the 3 seed. There was a outside chance that the Seadogs were not going to make the playoffs. And the Seadogs go all the way from having a chance not to make the playoffs all the way up to the number 2 seed. What was that feeling like?
It was crazy. I mean, just like you said, we were facing getting bounced after having a huge salary cap advantage, seeing some injuries, trying to hold it together. We ended up having a solid game, and a lot of teams really struggled in that last game. It gave us an opportunity to move up. We were elated. We just could not believe that we went from not making the playoffs to possibly getting a 5 seed to getting a 2 seed in a bye. It was glorious.
Pretty crazy. I mean, Devinder gave us all a favor there, huh, Jimmy?
Hey, look, don't give fucking Devender any credit. He scored 80 points. My team scored 78 fucking points. Stop sucking his dick here. Like, he didn't do shit. Fucking choked. Get off his dick here. Jesus Christ.
So let's talk about wild card matchup. You're at home in the Walter H. White Dome. Zach is probably the toughest 6 seed that I've ever seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was favored. He was favored to win that game. And it didn't look good. It didn't look good at the beginning of the week either. Jalen we thought was going to be out. Tyreek Hill was out. No one blames you for having Addison on the bench, but Addison puts up almost 30 points on the bench. Jalen Warren, you have in the next game, 9 points. And then that Detroit game, those two guys, Laporte and Gibbs, they almost just gave it to you right there.
Yeah. And, Godwin went off because fortunately they told us that Hill was going to be out. And so I was able to have Godwin queued up for it. And then Waddle also went off. So I double dipped I think I double dipped because of that. So I thought it was a great day. I beat Zach 3 times this year. That poor fucking guy.
No kidding. Wow.
Beat him. The first time I barely squeaked by him, but the next 2 times I blew him out. His team just didn't perform against me. But the other times I did pretty well against him this year.
Zach had a good game. And, Brian, you're a Seahawks fan who played a great game last night. I think Zach did end up losing a couple games because he had Metcalf on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? I mean, he's got a lot of wide receivers, but it's kind of, you have a good football team and you're leaving DK Metcalf on the bench almost.
That's for sure. I mean, Metcalf is super talented. And of course, being a Seahawks fan, it's tough, but we're just not doing a great job getting him the ball. But we're certainly feeding Walker, who I believe was on Neil's team and doing pretty well. If Neil was in the playoffs right now, he'd be sitting on a gold mine, I think.
I would have beat it. He would have been the 6th seed, and I would have waxed his ass too. So
Neil would have been the 6th seed. He would have scored 110 points. He would have beat the 2 other guys, but so would have Zach. The Seadogs put up if the Seadogs played this week, they put up 127 points. TOD put up 124 points. So you would have beat everyone this week, Jimmy.
Yeah, I know.
It's interesting, and I don't know if James is gonna make it on, but maybe I'll just get him on another show where it's just me and him. But this matchup, I was looking at the semifinal matchup between you two today, and there's a lot of correlation in this matchup. It's going to be interesting. Let me just bring this up really quick on where you guys are at. And this is right now, the Seadogs are favored to win by about 5 points. Brian's done his homework during the year, and, he's picked up a bunch of defenses. I think he found the defense that he's going with. But, let me talk about correlation. This game's going to be played Monday on Christmas Day too. Baltimore and San Francisco, we got, the best quarterback on, Lamar Jackson is going for Baltimore, and he's also got CMC, going for San Francisco. Do you think that's going to play any bit of a factor at all, Brian, where you have a running back going up against an opposing quarterback?
I'm definitely concerned. But first, let me just say, I am not looking forward to playing Jimmy. He is red hot. He's got some great players on his team. He's got an incredible matchup with Hurts going up against the Giants at home, which really makes me nervous. The only thing that I'm hoping for is that the Cowboys getting embarrassed last week on the road. I'm hoping that they're going to play Miami tough and maybe try to do something with Hill and Waddle. But to get back to your question, yeah, I mean, that Baltimore defense is going to be tough. They're going to be keying on McCaffrey. The San Francisco defense is going to be tough. They know that Jackson is, running the whole show. It's concerning for sure.
So, I mean, you got, I think right now, probably the two hottest running backs with CMC and Kyron Williams, and they've both been putting up a shitload of points. Both of them have tough matchups this week. I think, CMC is kind of matchup proof, and Kyron Williams might be too. On the other side, Jimmy, you're really hoping for a Detroit. It looks like you got a lot of Detroit and Minnesota players going up against each other. So you're really looking for a high scoring game there. And, what do you think about, I have mixed feelings on how the Miami-Dallas game is going to go. I don't know whether that game, I could see that game being like a 2017 game, or I could see that being like a total fucking shootout.
Yeah, I think Dallas is so unpredictable. So, like, they just fucking lost. They just got their asses kicked by fucking Buffalo. Nobody saw that shit coming. So, yeah, there's no fucking way in hell I'm gonna bench goddamn Hill and Waddle, of course. So I got.
Come on, Jimmy, do it.
I have to fucking ride with it and take my chances there, right? So like, there's no fucking way. I don't care how good they could be the fucking 85 Bears that I'm gonna ride with fucking Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek's had a phenomenal year. It's like he was banged up and he still played. He decided, I think he could have played last week, but he decided not to. Turned out to be a good game for Jalen Waddle. Everyone's been talking about, the Jets defense, but I mean, Miami just beat the crap out of them almost.
Yeah, they just without Tyreek Hill. So, yeah, I think to Brian's point, like, I'm banking on Jalen Hurts to just get himself back into the MVP by just absolutely destroying the Giants, honestly. And just, I wouldn't be shocked if he puts up a fucking 40 spot this week.
You put a 40 spot on me last time we played, Jimmy.
I mean, the one thing is, and the Giants are not a good football team. And I think after last night, I really thought last night that, hey, Seattle's a lot better than their record is, but I really thought that last night the Eagles were going to come out and really, hey, we just got blown out 2 games by, two teams that, have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And, we're going to put on a fucking pounding tonight. And that was not the case, and, I think that we talked about this earlier, Brian. The Eagles controlled that game, the whole game until the last possession. And, their defense was awful. It's funny, though, because I didn't think Hurts played that great of a game, and he still put up 22, 23 points,
Yeah, for sure. And kind of going back to our matchup and what Jimmy was saying about Hurts and putting up points and trying to get in that MVP race. Even though I know that McCaffrey's going to have a tough game against Baltimore, I kind of think that they're trying to do the same thing. I mean, he went off this past weekend. Everywhere you see on NFL.com, they're talking about McCaffrey being the MVP, maybe Purdy. So if they can team up together and just deliver a whole bunch of points trying to pad that resume, I will be fine with that.
Yeah. This is the time of year when everyone's racking up, trying to stack up. I think Tyreek Hill is still going to try to go for 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
So try to get him, 150, 200 yards passing. So that's what I'm banking on. Honestly, this is the time when there's some teams that are just going to completely tank it and mail it in, and others are trying to get awards and get stats and whatever. So I fully agree with the case.
And
this couple weeks.
I mean, it looks like almost every player on this team is still in everyone's playing it. Like, I think every team is in the playoff hunt except maybe, and this is what I want to get to both of you two next is, I see a player on both of your teams that have been, Eckler has not had a great year at all. I think you almost have to start him because of who he is. And, on the other side, ATN started out, great, and he has really went downhill the last couple of weeks. So, let me start with you, Brian. It's like you almost have to start him, but, what do you do with Austin Eckler in a spot here where they got a backup quarterback, their coach just got fired, they're playing the Buffalo Bills defense. What do you do in that spot? I guess you just have to go with them and your fingers crossed them.
It's definitely something that I really have to do some additional research this week and think about it. Like you said, he has not done much at all. It's been very disappointing. And now with the backup quarterback, it's almost like a lot of teams are putting 8 in the box. So it's going to be a struggle. And I got to come up with the decision sooner than later. They play on Saturday. So, I've definitely got to do my due diligence and really look and see if there's anybody else that's going to give us a better chance. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be a tough call. I'm really going to have to think about it, do some soul searching.
I love it. I love it. And let me ask on your side, the same thing, Jimmy. I guess you have to, Tampa Bay's got a pretty good defense. You do have a little correlation here with, Chris Godwin and ETN, but, ETN has not played very well these last few weeks either.
Yeah, but the difference, I don't have much depth at running back. I have just enough to roll with what I have, right? Like, if you look at it, like, I'm not going to start fucking Jalen Warren over ETN.
Yeah,
my team is what it is. I have maybe a little bit of decisions to make at wide receiver, my second or my flex position, but I can't sit ETN just like I can't sit Gibbs. Those are the only fucking running backs I have that have any upside. Honestly, you have to just take the downside with them because everybody else's ceiling, fucking Warren's ceiling is capped, no matter who they're.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I have to roll with them, and just their floor is, I can take it just because of the upside.
The one thing is, I'm looking at your bench right now, both your bench, and it's Jamar Chase is out. Looks like he's going to be out and injured in the next game. It looks like Brian has Higgins on his team. Mm-hmm. You have Boyd on your team. They're playing the Steelers. It looks like it's going to rain. I don't know whether, but let me ask you guys this. And this is, I'm in the semifinals in another league, and my team is not really that good. And you do this a lot during the regular season, where you'll take a look at some guy that's a flyer almost, and he's got a good situation coming up. You're reading the things where like, oh, this guy's a start guy. You pick him up off waivers. You put them in. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't work out. When you're in the playoffs and the games really matter, is that something that you want to stay away from and you want to stick with your studs no matter what? Or do you want to take a flyer every now and then? Or does it depend on the matchup?
I will definitely take a look at that. For years, I've definitely looked to see, have I uncovered every stone to get, a guy with a great matchup and plug him in there? I will not, rule that out. I'm going to be looking this week to see if there happens to be anybody that can give us that extra spark at a position that we're hurting at. I will definitely do that. But obviously, some of the the big guys that I have, the big studs are definitely going to go. But there are a few positions that I might take a flyer on. Absolutely.
Jimmy,
yeah, I'm more likely to ride the horses that I have. And you look at my team. Almost 85-90% of the guys drafted and have been on my team all fucking season long.
Absolutely.
So I just trust in that situation almost always. I trust my judgment in there. I'll go to the waiver wire if maybe there's an absolute home run out there, but other than that, I'm going to ride the guys that have been there the entire year.
Absolutely. And we talk about that, it's like we've all gotten, a couple different strategies to get to this way. Brian had to, tank last year. He got a bunch of cap room this year, put a good team together, here now, he's in the Final Four, put a good team together. You, on the other hand, you had, the first year you got some great keepers and really just hit pay dirt with that. And you've been riding on. And, Neil probably put the way I play this league the best is I play my team like it's Social Security. It's going to fucking run out eventually,
Which is why which is obnoxious in the way that you vote for GM of the year, because you put too much weight in the regular season shit and nothing in the off season, how they handle the off season, because you guys do it so shitty in the off season. So like, props to those of us who did it right there. You got to take the whole fucking thing into into play here.
You're going to garner plenty of votes. Don't worry. I think you're going to garner plenty of votes. If there's one thing for certain, I will not be the GM of the year this year. If there's one for certainty, it won't be me.
100%. 100%. And either. I don't know anybody who's going to vote for Neil other than you.
Neil, you look at Neil's team, he's got a lot of $2 guys on there. I mean, he's got a lot of guys like that have just came out, like those Houston receivers, that guy on Miami, he's got,
No, the Nick, look, I'll argue all day. Nick Chubb, and then his waffling, his kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out during the trade deadline is like the dumbest. You got to go all in or you got to go all out. You got to go.
The truth. That's the truth.
Get credit for it. He just kind of waffled a little bit. That was weak sauce.
So let me ask you guys. I want to get a couple more strategy questions here from both of you. And this is something that I was kind of like, I don't know whether I was really kind of looking at, and I don't want to on Sean too much, but I was watching his team all week, and I was just like screaming in my head, what are you doing? You're starting Dak Prescott, and he's playing against the Buffalo defense, and you're starting the Buffalo defense. And I've seen this with some GMs, and it looks like we're all in kind of the same thing where we're really streaming GMs. And there's a couple leagues, I won one league because I started the Raiders defense. I mean, that was what turned it around almost, And it's like, when you and, Brian is obviously, we know both of you have picked up and dropped defenses, and, you always got to play the matchup in defenses. But is there any, and I was even looking online, is there anything that like any reason why you should ever start like a quarterback and the opposing defense? Is there any strategy ever behind?
I've actually talked to some people about that before, and it kind of depends on the type of league that you're in and the scoring. I've been in some leagues where you can really rack up some negative scoring on defenses if the team gets blown out. And I've seen some people want to use that strategy, trying not to sustain a lot of negative points. I don't get it. I try not to do anything like that. But that was the explanation that I heard. I don't really quite roll with that logic, but I guess somebody thought about it.
That's what I read too. Is there's a time to do it when you're like heavily favored and it's a safer floor almost.
Yeah,
that was not the case in this game. All these games are going to be close, but
right.
And Jimmy, let me just ask you. I mean, how do you? I mean, and it's just the same thing with you. I mean, you look at all these. Some guys buy defenses. Some guys keep the same defense for for most of the year. I know Brian has had the Jets defense all year, but it's not the only defense he's played. What's your opinion on defense, and how much of a factor does it play in the TPFFKAL sometimes? I mean, I think sometimes like having the right defense can make the difference in winning the game.
Oh yeah. I mean, in this league, especially, you see I've changed defenses 12, 13 times this season.
Yeah.
Roughly around there. Like I don't think I've stuck with a defense much. I'm sticking with one this week, but that's because I couldn't find a better one out there, honestly. But I've changed
all up.
Huh?
That's because Brian picked them all up, and I picked the rest of them up.
There is a reason why I picked up all those defenses, and Jimmy just hit it.
But yeah, no, I change defenses every week. Unless you get like one of the top 3 defenses, there's no reason to keep them. And even then, even the top 3 defenses go against some pretty tough matchups sometimes, and you can't risk it against those. So I'm you know, whoever's playing the fucking Giants, I'm probably going to pick up, or the Jets, or there's like 4 teams that you want to pick up the defense if they're playing against them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like, you know, I mean, the one thing that, you know, you guys, that I both like about you guys, you've both done to me and we've done to each other is, you know, it's when you're going up against a team. I remember, I think it was last year, Jimmy, but I was, you know, I had a quarterback on a bye week or something, and you took like 6 quarterbacks.
2 years ago, I took like 2 or 3 guys. Yeah.
And I couldn't start anyone. I forgot who I started, and you kicked my ass in that. And then Brian kicked my ass last year because, you know, he picked up some no-name Buffalo wide receiver who actually, you know, Josh Allen threw like 2 touchdown passes to, who was on my team that day. So it was like, but you know, those are kind of the little things that you can do that can give you a little bit of an edge in this league. And it's, you know, it's why, you know, I think fantasy football, it proves here that if you put a little effort into it and you look a little bit, you're going to, you know, I always compare fantasy football like a long poker tournament. You know what I mean? It's like, you're always looking for these slight edges. You know, you're going to lose some games to mediocre teams, but if you put the effort into it and you really, you know, you really study this and find the right situations, you're going to win. And if you treat it matchup to matchup, like you guys have done in some cases.
Yeah, you know, what I did a couple of years ago, I learned from you. You and Rich did it, and I was like, "What the fuck are these guys doing? Why are they picking up and dropping guys like immediately?" Like I didn't. What? I don't. And then
I do it because I have ADHD.
Well, no, because then you take him off the waiver wire, and he's not eligible to be picked up again until after the waiver wire. And I was like, "These fucking dicks!" I was so angry, and then I was like, "Of course it makes sense," but I never approached it that way. I never played that way. I was like, if I lose out on someone, I just lose out on somebody, but nothing.
Right.
That was like the most brilliant shit, and I was like, "It's time to get back at you for that one."
Right. So before we end, I guess I talked to James a little bit. He said I'm going to try to get James on a show with me because we're going head to head. Do you guys have any parting shots for each other this weekend?
Look, I'll say it, man. I have nothing but respect for BMAC. I think his team is stacked. I think those running backs are scary as fuck. So, if I lose to BMAC, I'm going to be rooting for BMAC to go all the way. But I hope it doesn't come to that.
Well, I definitely appreciate that, Jimmy. I tell you, man, I watched your team perform all through the season. I watched you just this last week in the playoffs, and you got scary talent, and teaming up, you know, Hill and Waddle together made you even scarier. So I'm definitely nervous about this game. I definitely do not want to face you this week, but you know, those are the cards we're dealt. So we're going to move forward. But yeah, if I come up short, I hope you're able to go all the way, Jimmy. I'll be rooting for you, brother.
Thanks, man.
I think this is going to be a great game. I think we're going to be watching this all through the weekend. I think on Monday it's going to be a great Christmas gift for one of you guys to go over to the Pantheon Cup. We're going to find that out on Christmas Day, which is going to be awesome. If there's one thing you two could agree on, it's you don't want TOD to win their second Pantheon Cup. That's
correct.
Right on.
We wouldn't mind if you just get waxed by fucking James this week.
That would be everyone's Christmas gift, right? The whole league would get a Christmas gift then.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Well, it was great having you guys on the TPFFKAL show. Thanks so much. I'm going to get this thing hopped on. I think this is going to get a ton of likes, and I love you too. You guys having a great season, and I appreciate you guys so much.
All right.
Thanks for having us on the show.
Take care, guys.
See you guys.
See ya.